ones that are up here on the whiteboard, so you see where they appear in the text and what the context is. Any problem with any of these? Now you wait till you see them. Where should I get? Over here? No problem?
Get to higher. Get to have. Hard.
Get to have? Get to have.
Yeah, have. I thought that was on the R.
Yeah.
Oh, have.
That means you have the privilege of doing something or having something or seeing something that you get to have or get to see. Did you get to see the movie? Yeah, well that's just a little different than the way you would say it in Spanish. Kind of idiomatic, using get. Like a lot of idiomatic expressions use get. And don't see any others right there, but you get in or you get out or get over a cold. So we use get a lot. Setback. What's a setback? You can use it as a noun or as a verb. We're going to set back the schedule another hour. Or we had a setback yesterday and didn't finish our class. What was a setback? A delay. Un atraso. And we talk about our upbringing, or the way you bring something up. What's that mean?
Recordar.
Break or die?
Remember?
Not exactly.
You bring out this subject.
No, right. You bring up a subject, you introduce the subject. You present it, you bring it up. Anything you want to bring up for discussion? And upbringing is the kind of childhood you had, where you went to school, what kind of parents you had. That's your upbringing. That's what brought you into the world. We're going to read about a devotional about your upbringing and the way you look at it. And to dabble in, like we have certain things that we like to do and we do them a lot. But some things we just dabble in. That means that we just do it a little bit. That dabble in means you do it just a little bit. Mishaps, all know what that means. Like accidents, unfortunate things that happen in your life. We all have lots of those, right? Relish can be a noun or a verb.
Relish?
Yes. Relish. As a noun, the way I've heard it used is in a special sauce you put on hot dogs called the relish. And it's made up of pickles, chopped up pickles. And it's a relish. Have you ever had a relish? No? You don't make hot dogs? You have to have relish on your hot dogs. Not just mustard and ketchup, but relish. And when you relish something as a verb, that means you really like it. It's really yummy. And dwelling can be a noun or verb. Dwelling. What can be as a noun?
Dwelling. Like, dwelling is like get in a duel, fighting.
That's a duel. This is a dwell. A duel is a sort of this is dwell. Well, as a noun, it's a kind of a habitat structure that you live in. That's your dwelling. And as a verb, it means to be there, spend time there, or focus on something. Like dwell on the positive means focus on the positive. You can relate the two, where you live and what you spend time doing. That's what you dwell on. The verb is to dwell, and dwelling is the noun. Wit. Thought you guys knew what all these mean. Wit. Wit is like your genius or your chispa. Whenever somebody has a special chispa for something, or maybe especially for telling jokes or something, they're funny, you say that was wit. Or to use it as an adjective, witty. He's a witty person. He can come up with interesting things to say. Like writers have to be witty to make their writing interesting. And if you want to learn to tell jokes, you have to be witty. If you don't have any wit, there's no punchline. The joke isn't funny. It's just a dead joke. You have to have wit. And push away, those are two words, push away, idiomatic.
Push away?
Push away.
Like, take it on your way. And,
It can be a physically push something away, or it can be like when you offend somebody, you're pushing them away. Pretty soon they're not going to want to be with you. Push away. Outlook.
That's the new Hotmail.
Yeah. Outlook Express. I wonder why they chose that word. Outlook. Well, Outlook, what is it, really? I mean, before Hotmail and before Outlook Express, what is Outlook? That's your focus, your perspective on something, your attitude about it. Bleak, not a very common word.
What?
Bleak. Bleak is like very uninspiring. If you go out on a winter day in Ohio and look at the landscape, it's very bleak. No birds, no flowers, no leaves on the trees. It's just all black and white. Some people think that's very bleak, very uninspiring. But it depends on your outlook. If you like snow and you like winter, it's nice. There we go. Bother.
Bother is like bothering him.
Yeah. Or if I say don't bother to
Your brother.
don't bother to study for the test, it's very easy. That means no te molestes o no te esfuerces. Eschew, it's an old English word. It's going to be in a devotional, eschew. There's a quote in there that says to choose the good but eschew the evil. Eschew is like to push away, to reject. Boost. Come on, Julian, you got it?
Like going fast or something?
Yes, like to give it a
To
little
increase
push.
something, increase the speed or the power.
Give it a little push.
Yeah, a booster. Like the rockets, Apollo rockets that go carry people to the moon and stuff. They take off with a special high-powered rocket called the booster. Well, that pushes them up so far and falls away. The boost means to increase or intensify something. Fable. Maybe we should just go through and see where these show up. You might understand them better. But I just thought it'd be interesting to see how many of these you actually know. In some of our English classes we had before, we went through a lot of idiomatic expressions. And those are so important because you just run into them all over. Let's look at text here, they're everywhere. Not all these are idiomatic. I tried to make the idiomatic expressions yellow and new words in red. I didn't put that one down. Talks about that their take on their lives. Takes is a word used out of place here, but it's common now to talk about your take on something. And that's your perspective, or how you see it. Not everybody sees things the same way. So my take on genetic modified foods might not be the same as somebody that works for Monsanto. We have a different attitude about it. But it's funny how they turn that verb into a noun. It's using takes as a noun. Oh, it's still here. Or you can talk about your take, or their takes. Well, take, literally, what does that mean? To wash, yeah. So it's the way you take something. You take it one way or another. So then they start talking about your take on something. Admar's take on basketball is pretty intense. He likes to play with basketball. So we got on fable.
Does this mean what is the story?
No, story, legend, fable. This is actually an idiomatic expression. In the story, it talks about he shot his thumb off. But the idiomatic expression is just shot off. And you can put anything in there. You can say shot it off, or shot the gun off. But I think you understand what happens when you shoot your thumb off.
I don't know. It blows?
You don't have any thumb. This guy shot his thumb off with a rifle.
Oh
So,
my god.
now he has 4 fingers.
That's for real.
He can't drink tea.
Unknowingly, adverb. They put those 2 words together, un and know, and unknowingly. It's amazing how they put words together. Annoying, you know what that means?
Yeah. Yes.
It's like bothering. And take. Okay, well, I'm going to put the audio on, and if you can't see this, get up closer. And maybe I can stop it every once in a while, and we'll talk about it. This is called sign me up for happy. Another idiomatic expression, sign up. What's it mean to sign up?
Like get in
Like matricularse, or registrarse. Or if you want, we're going to pass around a sheet of paper. All those who want to play volleyball, you sign up for volleyball. Let me get my mouse to work.
Today's podcast is authored by Tina Cupp and is read by Stephen Lariva. It's called Sign Me Up for Happy. I know 2 people who both grew up with missionary parents, lived in many of the same countries, even went to the same schools, and shared many of the same experiences. Yet, when I talk to them individually about growing up, I hear 2 very different stories. And it's clear that their takes on their lives are very different. Jenny will stress about all she had to give up as a missionary kid, the sacrifices she had to make, the normal things she didn't get to have, such as television, and the setbacks she faced in life by not having a more stable upbringing. Jill will talk about how she feels she had a privileged childhood, filled with travel, fun, and the chance to experience a wide variety of cultures firsthand. She'll speak of the skills she learned along the way, the languages she dabbled in, and the mishaps and tough times that became adventures that she would one day relish telling her grandchildren about. Why do these two girls have such different takes on their experiences? A lot has to do with attitude. Jill is focusing.
So, how's it going there? You follow what's happening with these two girls?
Yes, I forget what means dabble in.
Dabbling means to get into something just a little bit.
What? Like how?
Well, hopefully we're not dabbling in English this morning. We're really getting into it. But say maybe you like to dabble in Chinese and French. Study a little bit, learn to say a few things, how to say good morning, or I love you in Japanese. Well, you're dabbling in Japanese.
Just like learn.
Yeah, get into it a little bit. You know what it means to get into something, don't you? But we're going to get into trouble if we don't study for this exam. This is
Oh, and I have problems with mishaps.
mishaps. Something that happened that was not nice, unpleasant, a bad experience, maybe an accident. Like, but happened together with mistake. Okay, something that happened that was a mistake, a mishap. So they'd ask a question. What was the question?
What happened to the two girls?
Yeah, what was the difference between the experience of these two girls?
Yeah.
They both grew up in the same environment. They were both missionary children. They even went to some of the same schools, so obviously they were in the same country. And they both, like a lot of missionary children, don't get to do a lot of things that other kids get to do because maybe they can't afford it or because they live in a poor country. Like our kids always felt like they were missing out on a lot because they didn't live in North America. And they'd watch movies about North American culture and think, wow, look at all we're missing. You know. But there's another way to look at that. You know, there could be a kid in North America living in a North American culture who is thinking, wow, I sure wish I could get out of here and go live in some other country and experience what it's like to live in Colombia or Mexico or someplace like that. But it's important that you understand this part, because if you don't understand this part, I don't know, we can go back and look at the text on that. Let's go back and just look at the text. Like when they tell their story, they both tell their stories, and they have a whole different outlook on the same experience. They both had the same experiences, but they tell it in a different way. They put a different spin on it. When you talk about the way you present something, that's a spin you put on it. Like in baseball, when you throw a ball, you can throw a ball in such a way, you put a spin on it. It'll come in like a straight ball going right in to the right place, and all of a sudden it just drops like that. That's because there's a spin on it. Well, you can present something the same way. You can put a spin on it, and it comes out sounding completely different. They both put a different spin on it. The one child feels that she had a privileged childhood. You know what privileged is?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, she grew up as a missionary child. She was probably poor, and she didn't get to do all the things that other children do, but she felt she had a privileged childhood. So that's a spin she has. And she learned a lot of skills along the way, lived in a large variety of cultures. That's one thing about missionary kids, they move a lot. Once we tried to figure out how many different houses we lived in, we couldn't even figure it out. We lived in over 50 different houses, 100 different houses. You know, how many people can say that? You know, and every house is a different neighborhood, different neighbors. Well, you don't think you learn from that? You learn from everybody you know. Why is it doing this? Hello? Anyway, but the other girl focused on the things she didn't get to have. Now see the difference between the things she didn't have or the things she didn't get to have. What's the difference?
Las cosas que no tuve, las cosas que no logró tener.
Well, when kids talk about what they don't get to do, you always have to remind them about the things they do get to do. Because they're starting to think about, well, poor me, I'm an abused child because I didn't get to do this. Or didn't get to have this. They didn't have the privilege of doing it. Or they weren't allowed to do it. And they start to put the blame on somebody, whether blame God or blame their parents or blame their situation. But if you just say you didn't have that, well, that's just stating a fact. But when you say you didn't get to have that, then you're putting some attitude on it. So that's interesting how you change the meaning by putting get in there. Put get in there, you change the meaning. You didn't have the opportunity or the privilege of having or doing something. You're not just saying, I didn't have that or I didn't do that. But anyway, there's a spin on it. And that's that part. If you get that part, go on to the next part. So it asks, why do these two girls have such different takes on their experiences? And then it's going to go on and tell you why, but what does anybody think? Why do you think they have different takes on their experiences?
The first girl is kind of pessimist,
Pessimist.
and the other girl is like, she enjoys the life. Doesn't matter their problems.
She knows how to enjoy the things that she gets to do, right? She enjoyed her childhood. I forget what her name was. The one who enjoyed.
Jill.
No.
Jill, yeah. Jill enjoyed her childhood while Jenny, I think she was a miserable child. If she looked at everything that way, at what she didn't get to have and didn't get to do, she probably lived a pretty miserable childhood. Okay. Any other ideas on that? Daniela, did you have a privileged childhood? Or are you having a, still going through some issues with your childhood?
Because she's more. You get it?
I don't hear a lot of that with you guys, about things you don't get to do. I got mostly from my older kids.
What?
Things they didn't get to do. Oh yeah.
I'm happy with my childhood. I'm happy with my childhood.
They're happy, good. Positive outlook.
Yes.
It could be worse. It could definitely be worse. Yeah, I think sometimes that, not all of you guys, but some of you have been in the same place for so long. How would that affect me? Well, I spent 18 years on a farm in Ohio. I wasn't happy with that. I was very anxious to get off of that farm. So I imagine you guys are pretty anxious to get out of Sylvania. Maybe not. Maybe you're happy in Sylvania. Spend the rest of your life here. But I remember one time my mother got us kids for a birthday a little record player that played these little 45 RPM records. And there was one of them about this kid who got in this airplane and flew all over South America and visited all these different countries. Well, I listened to that over and over and over, and it made me feel unhappy about being stuck on a farm in Ohio. But it also made me want to get out of there, so maybe that was a good thing, you know. But you guys have the internet, and you go all over the world and have all kinds of experiences, and you know, maybe you feel like you've been there already. I don't know. Well, let's go on here. My mouse is lost. Hello. Is this going too fast?
On the good and benefiting from it, while Jenny is dwelling on the challenges and the setbacks. Some people will base their outlook on life on the negative things they experience, to the point where it becomes difficult to see or enjoy the good and the beauty that has made their life into what it is. Think of someone who suffers from an eating disorder. While this is not something to take lightly, the one who has the disorder won't notice or care that they are blessed with beautiful hair or eyes or great wit and sense of humor, because all they can focus on is what they think is the ideal weight. The saddest thing is that this focus pushes away those people who try to help and encourage them, as in that state of mind, it's nearly impossible to believe anything good that other people have to say about them. I use such an example to show how having a positive attitude can change our outlook in life and how we view the things that happen in them. We can choose to see the good in a circumstance or focus only on the negative, which will make going through life somewhat bleak. When we choose to look at the good, we can learn how to focus on the things that make us happy, rather than the things we don't like or that bother us. I invited a kid to my daughter's birthday party, and she literally went around the house complaining about everything, from the size of the pool to the brand of orange juice I served, to the type of cake and how she preferred other snacks and treats. Well, you can bet your left shoe that not only did that girl not have any fun at the party, but neither my daughter nor I were very eager to invite her back. People who focus on the negative sometimes remind me of those cartoon characters with dark rain clouds and lightning over their heads. A rather depressing picture. Not only that, but their negativity is contagious. It drags others down and can darken one's whole outlook on life. Fortunately, if we choose to dwell on the good and positive things in life, we have the power to have the opposite effect on those around us. We can brighten someone's life and make a difficult situation more bearable. There was a phrase from a verse that one of my teachers would use in prayer before showing his class a movie.
Hey, is that better?
Help us to choose the good